Proud of You is a parenting advice podcast and support group for dads hosted by two goofy dads. They are not pediatricians, nutritionists, OBGYNs, psychologists, nor are they authorities on parenting. They're just two dinguses trying to figure it all out. Their advice should not be taken as expert information. Parenting looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to be a dad. Frankly, if you're taking the time to listen to a podcast about it, you're already doing a great job. And these dads are proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right, welcome back. I am Derek Mata.
And I am Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you.
So our normal episode, so we're going to do something a little different. This is our 25th episode, if you can believe it. Like 25. Who knew that we were going to stick with it this long? So what we are going to do is we're going to give away $25 to one of our viewers, YouTube exclusive, because sorry, Spotify listeners, Apple Music or whatever listeners. $25, and we will get to that later in the episode, just so you know, for those listening.
Yeah, I want to celebrate that 25th episode. And this episode we're talking about something that is very germane to the fact that we've made 25 episodes of this show, and that is something that a lot of dads struggle with, which is finding the time. Life has so many things to do, right? There's fun, there's work, there's family, there's friends, there's all kinds of stuff that you kind of have to balance and prioritize. And when you become a dad, it just adds a lot to your plate, right? When you're a single guy, your time is your own, and when you're in a relationship or you're married, you're kind of splitting that time. You're balancing your time by yourself and your time with your partner and your time together. But then when you introduce kids into it, it takes up a huge part of your time, and a huge part of who you are becomes a dad, right? Your dad. You're taking care of the kid. You're taking care of your partner. You're taking care of your house. And so how do you find the time? Where do you find the time to release 25 episodes of a weekly podcast? This show is a great example, right? We've missed a couple episodes. We've had a couple times where Derek and I couldn't find the time.
Yeah.
I think we've done a pretty good job. We've been doing this for 28 weeks, and we've only missed 3 episodes. So not too shabby of a track record, if I do say so myself. But it's hard, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it is, because the big thing, and I'm just speaking from my own standpoint, and you're probably very similar, is I get home from work and what do I want to do? Cool, the kids are napping. I want to relax. I am tired. After a long day of work, my wife and I just want to relax. Okay. Well, that's the time to do something, let me work on a small project or whatever. And then the kids get up and sorry, they're huge. Oh, and my light just died.
Classic.
That's typical.
Yeah.
But it's trying to find that. So the kids wake up from nap and it's like, well, now you're off of work. So, hey, now we're going to try to do this. And it's hard because like, I don't want to miss out time with my kids, but I also want to find the time that works for you and I, what works because I want to keep pushing out this content. I want to keep educating dads on things that we all go through, but nobody wants to talk about. And it's hard because, as you know, you probably think that I am the king of excuses, but so many things come up. Today was swim lessons, and just losing track of time for those swim lessons. I don't know. Like,
and it's I think you hit on a really challenging spot there. That is that dynamic of when you get off work, right? Because I have that, especially working from home. I get off work and I'll come out of my office and go out to the living room, and Emily, who has been primary parent, who's overwhelmed by a toddler for the past 8 hours that I was working, is like, "Oh, you're in charge now."
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's listening, honey. You're very good at it, but uh, she's pretty good at like reading my vibe and seeing like, "Oh, hey, it seems like Dad needs a little while. Maybe we should go to the park without him or whatever." But like sometimes she's just having a really rough day, and she's just like, "Nope, I'm out. Like you're in. You go get him, Tiger." Um, and and that's completely viable, right? That's completely valid because she has been primary parent. She has been taking care of our daughter all day, and I haven't been just sitting in my office hanging out eating Cheetos. I've been working. I've been stressed
Yeah.
in a
It's
completely different way. And so, you kind of bounce from stressor to stressor. Not to say that my kid is a stressor, but you know what I mean. Like
no, yeah. I mean, we
primarily
all
in charge
understand as
of another
dads.
human's life is a little stressful at times. And especially in this, toddler phase of life, it can be my 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 toddler dictator yells at me much more than my actual corporate boss ever
I
would imagine to.
was gonna say
Um,
I can hear my two toddlers right now screaming from downstairs. So
yeah. So it's complicated because you want to help out, right? Like I'm like, oh man, like Emily's been with Alana all day. She's probably really worn out. I should take over. I should help out. And I'm really quick to throw away my own personal time and mental health and just be like, well, it's more important for me to take care of Alana so that Emily can get a break. Um, but that's not sustainable in the long term, right? Like I need to decompress. I need time to um time to myself, whether that's going for a walk or watching a TV show or playing a video game or listening to a podcast or any number of things that make me happy and help me be a person that's not just a cog in the corporate machine and a dad, right? Like I want to be an individual. Um,
and it's actually, I feel like we discussed this in one of our earlier podcasts, like finding time for yourself. Um, we touched on teaching our kids what we know, because yes, we can fall into that trap, and I'm guilty of it. I want to say my wife's guilty of it. You just kind of fall into that routine. You wake up, you go to work, you get off work, you do some chores, you make some dinner, you put the kids to bed, you go to sleep, you wake up, and like and next thing you know, 3, 4, 6 months have passed, a year, a couple years have passed, and you're like, I'm not me anymore.
yeah, you lose yourself in that daily grind.
And it's and then fight star, like, hey, why are you acting this way? And it's me, we'll take me as an example. Like, I love video games. I have this fantastic setup for video games, but I know that I would be neglecting my wife, my kids, if I was just like, honey, I had a bad day, I'm gonna come play video games, because video games are not fast. This is not Minesweeper. This is not online pinball that we used to play. What is it, Spaceship Pinball or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm taking it way back. Um, Games take hours at this point, and you have to think. You get off work, you work 9 hours. Let's say an hour commute. It's stressful, because I want to play my video games, but I don't want to neglect my family.
Yeah.
I want them to know that dad is available, or my husband is available in the terms of my wife. It's a juggling act.
No, totally, man. And it's such a funny thing and I'm gonna sound like a real old man here, but it's so funny to me looking back at like what my life was in college. Because when I was in college, I was going to school full time. I was taking a full credit load. I was working a full-time job. I was in an intramural soccer league. I played World of Warcraft daily. I also played like every major video game title that came out, right? Like when Skyrim released and whatever. Like I played all of the big games that came out. Um, and I saw like every movie that came out in theaters and went to concerts
I'm
and I played in a
I'm
band.
doing the math. This isn't adding up here.
Yeah, and I'm like, when did I sleep? For like
Apparently
four
not.
years, did I ever sleep? Because I have no idea. Like now, I'm like, okay, I woke up and I went to my full-time job. Time to go to bed. Like,
Right.
And it's some days are easier than others, obviously, but like it's such a wild thing to look at and consider. Like, I don't know where I found the time in the day, and
I
and
don't like.
maybe old man Andrew at 32 can learn something from young crazy 22-year-old Andrew who wasn't sleeping and was having more fun,
And
and prioritize things differently.
so I'm sitting here and like I'm thinking back to my early 20s, my military days. Like wake up at what 6 o'clock? Like I wish I slept till 6 o'clock nowadays. Let me tell you. But like I'd go to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just I mean you got to think the military is a full-time job. Where did I find this time at?
Yeah.
Like is our 20s a lot different than our 30s?
I mean, time is not linear, man. We do
Apparently
not
not.
experience time in a straight line, but a lot of it just comes down to priorities, right? And what you prioritize. We just had a conversation as we're recording this episode. The new Fallout series is on Amazon Prime, and Derek and I are both huge fans of the Fallout
Huge.
video game series.
This
Um,
Fallout 3 right here.
we're both huge Fallout fans, and so um this series is like important to us, and neither of us have watched it all the way through. Like, we're both like halfway through it, and part of it is because we're doing the couple thing where we're watching the show with our wives instead
Yeah,
of
yeah, to be fair,
burning
like
it in a binge watch session, right? Like, I could stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning
yeah,
and kill that out the day it came out,
I
but
I would have, yes.
but like, I'm prioritizing. Like, I we've been watching maybe an episode a day because I would rather go to the park with Alana when I get off of work and have fun with her, and then have dinner with my wife, and you know put put the baby to bed, and then Emily and I watch an episode before we go to sleep while we're folding laundry or doing whatever other home task we have to do while the show is on. um because sitting and watching that show isn't my priority anymore, right? And I think that's a big thing that changed. Like, I talked about all of this time that I consumed, honestly, an unfair amount of time that I consumed when I was in college. But it's because I had no obligations, right? My time was my own. I wasn't worried about my wife or my kid or my anything. And frankly, I wasn't really worried about my job or like anything else. I had no worries whatsoever when I was a young, dumb 20-year-old because I owned the world.
And so it's funny though, because like we're talking about how 20 we just kind of did whatever we wanted. And you see these TikToks, you see these Facebook reels, whatever short video clips, and it's husbands that come home and play video games and do nothing else. Like, don't lose that part of you, but make sure that your kids don't know you for coming home and just sitting at that TV all day. Like, I don't go to the park. I am not an outside dad. Recently, I have become a cooking dad. Like, I don't come home and sit there on my games. On my Game Boy. I'm a boomer, so we're our Game Boys.
Yeah.
I miss those days. Those are good days also. Um, but like I don't want my kids to be like, oh yeah, dad just came home and sat on his games. Like, I come home and like I have a DIY task. I have something I want to do. Right now, it's fixing the damn kegerator. So my kids wake up from nap and like, dad's fixing something. Dad's now doing this. Dad's not doing that. Um, but the only time I'm losing is I'm not throwing that frisbee, but I'm outside with my children.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? So
totally.
that's how I'm trying to kind of even out. And it is a recent thing. So honey, when you're listening, be like, that's not who you are. Like, no, that is a recent thing within the past week. um
Hey, part of being a
I,
dad is adapting to who you are this week.
yeah,
That's
I know, and it is, and it's I don't know. It's difficult, and there's not a right answer to any of this, and it sucks. I wish that we could. So I wish that dads could listen to this and be like, "There's that holy grail. There's that answer that I've been looking for. There's that solution. There's not a solution to the problem. It's if you understand that maybe you are sitting in front of the TV a little too much. Like, we all have hard days, right? Like
Yeah, totally.
but every day can't be a hard day.
Well, and I think it's important to take that time, but one of the things that you have to figure out what your situation looks like, right? Because for me, like um we've been using media as the example here, so right,
Yes.
so like shows. I personally, it is healthier for me, it is better for me, and it's easier for me to prioritize media if I prioritize like an hour a day of that media and I break it up, right? Um, I couldn't tell you the last time that I just sat down and watched a movie start to finish, right? That wasn't something I was watching with Alana, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know the last time that a R-rated film released that I sat down and I watched it in one piece. It's always broken up over time. Because for me, the way that I operate, I would rather consume a 45-minute chunk of media and go to the park 3 days in a row than go to the park 2 days in a row and then that third day miss going to the park with my daughter because I'm going to stay at home and watch that movie in one whole chunk, right? But that might not be who you are, and it changes for me from property to property, right? Because if something that I'm really excited about and I really want to get invested in comes out, like frankly, if I wasn't watching Fallout with Emily, if I was watching it by myself, that is absolutely what I would want to do, is just close myself in a room and put on my Pit Boy and watch the show start to finish, all
Wait,
eight
so
episodes, you
so
know?
so next question is, do you
Um,
actually own one?
yeah, of course.
So, side note, not trying to get off topic here. When Fallout 4 came out, like I wish I had bought the collector's edition with the Pip-Boy. I don't own one. I love Fallout. Literally my favorite
Yeah,
shit ever. Um,
such
so
a such a great
I'm
series, such a
I'm
great
a
franchise.
I'm a little upset I don't have a Pip-Boy, but not to go off topic on Fallout here. I just wanted to know if you had one because I don't, and I wish I
So
did.
if you're wondering what a great gift to get Derek for his birthday is,
My birthday just passed, so Christmas or Father's
yeah,
Day.
yeah, that's true. Or if you forgot to get Garrett Derek a gift for his birthday, get on it. You're already a month late.
Oh,
Go
wait,
buy that
wait.
Pip Boy.
Who we talking to?
I have no idea. Your wife listens to this, but she already got you a birthday present.
My
So
wife gave me the best present that wasn't even a gift. It was the joy of everything. All my friends, that it was a surprise birthday party for those watching or listening. Something I would never have thought of in a million years.
yeah. So yeah, and so like we were saying, it comes down to really figuring out what your situation is, right? Because sometimes you want to break off that chunk, and it varies from need to need, right? I was talking about how media, I would rather break off a 45-minute chunk a day. Um, Sometimes I need to go camping. I need to take a day and sleep outside, right? I know you said you're not an outside dad, but that's 100% my vibe. Um,
So to cut you off here, so when you say to go camping, like to go camping by yourself or to go camping with your family?
I mean, a little bit of both, honestly. Emily and I just had the conversation recently because my birthday's coming up, of potentially taking a trip, the three of us going camping for my birthday weekend. And that's really great and that's really special. And sometimes I want to go camping, and the way that I go camping alone looks very different than the way that I go camping with Emily and Alana, right? Because I'm like pre dad Andrew, right? I'm a bivouac camper. I like going out and driving 20 miles into the backwoods and then parking and camping 20 miles further into the backwoods, deeper than my car could get, and then camping where nobody else can get to, right? Because I don't have to worry about ATVs driving by at 2 o'clock in the morning or people finding me on the trail. Like I am out. I own where I am. Um,
It's impressive, honestly.
Emily's not a backpacker. She's not really into that lifestyle, and Alana is certainly not up for a 20-mile hike. And I wish I was in the kind of shape where I could carry a 30-pound toddler for 20 miles to bivouac camp, but that would just be horrible for all of us. And so, we do a
Yeah.
lot of car camping. And that's super fun in its own way, right? Like it's a different type of experience. But that's super fun. Um, but if that's the hole in my heart that I need to fill, right? Is that backpack camp, that long trip, um, then that's something that I'm gonna need to do solo. And Emily and I will talk through and work out, a weekend or
The
a day or whatever
the
where
logistics of it, yeah.
she can take on and the prioritization, because like I said, I am no longer college Andrew who is beholden to nobody, and my only priority is my own time. um I prioritize with her, and I figure out, like, okay, I have X, Y, and Z obligations, so this time frame works well for me. How does that work for you? Oh, you have some stuff going on then as well. Let's look farther down the road. Okay, this weekend happens to line up where I don't have any plans, you don't have any plans, and you're comfortable taking over in that time. Great. That's when I'm going camping. I'm gonna disappear for 2 days. And just because of who Emily is and the people that we are, she'll make plans with her best friend or her sister or whatever, so that she's not just alone for 2 days. Which is also great for me because it makes me feel like I'm not abandoning
Yeah.
my wife and daughter, right?
So in that case, we're gonna go camping and we're gonna leave our wives and children together.
Oh yeah, man. Heard it here first.
Yes, honey. Wink, wink. Uh, I'm not. I haven't gone camping. Military days. There's a tent on the beach with a lot of beer. I can't do that shit anymore. Regardless. But no, I completely understand. Sometimes you just kind of you need that me time, and and you kind of made that point I was making earlier is sometimes you have that hard day, you have that hard week, and you're like, I need this. So like my thing, because I love gaming, is like I'm like, babe, I'm gonna game on Friday, I'm gonna game on Saturday. Like we have had a conversation that I game kind of like once a week because other obligations.
Yeah.
Honey, I know you're gonna pick this apart. I love you. we're not fighting. Um, but it's like if I just have an absolute shit week, like I'm gonna spend those 2 days gaming. I'm gonna, stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning and just do whatever, talk on Discord. So like that's my thing. Your thing is camping. But I know that I can't come home every single day. Like, I've had a bad day, honey. I've had a bad day. I've had a bad day because eventually, like, no, you're just ignoring me.
Yeah. Well, and it's frankly, like, I don't my wife and my kid are a priority to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
So
want to spend that time together, even when I do have a bad day. Sometimes the thing that makes me have a better day isn't going camping or locking myself in a room and watching a movie. Sometimes it's going to the park with Alana or having dinner with Emily and Alana. Like, um, but frankly, more often than not, that's the thing that'll break me out of a funk if I'm having like a really rough week or am really stressed about, a work project or something that I've got going on in my life. Um, Isolating myself is typically not actually the answer for me. Again, it varies from
yeah,
person to
and
person,
it,
but
it does vary from
I'm
person to
gonna
person.
I'm gonna break and have a much better time spending time and investing that time in Emily and Alana, and surrounding myself with my family who love me and make me feel good, than I am disappearing and maybe disassociating and having fun and letting go of some of that stress, or maybe just ruminating on it and letting it compound and hating it.
I mean, yeah, because we talked about it in what our last episode. Sometimes you just want to vent. Like
Yeah.
you don't even want a solution. You just want to vent, or you just want like me. Like sometimes I just want to go to the garage. Like I made the comment earlier is working on this kegerator. It is such a small project. Like it gives me time. I can focus, and then you know what? I'm good. If I had a hard day, I tinker with something a little bit. I'm good.
Yeah. I've said for a long time, I work a fairly white collar job. We work in a blue collar industry, but I'm not driving the trucks, right?
That's right.
And I work a fairly white collar job, and because of that, I have very blue collar hobbies. Because I have the benefit of being able to enjoy hard labor and not subsist on hard labor. And so there are a lot of tasks that are work that are really cathartic and meditative for me, right? Like if I need just an hour to, disassociate and think about whatever is going on in my life and not be a dad, but just be able to space out.
Be a person, yeah.
Yeah, to be a person. Like sometimes that's mowing the lawn or doing the dishes or a woodworking project or a metalworking project, something,
I
changing the oil in the car. I get away from
Yes.
my family for an hour and I just get to be locked into that task and doing the thing. Um, and
Like
like, yeah, it's work, but because it's the kind of work that I get to enjoy and, I'm doing work with my hands instead of sitting on a computer doing work, it doesn't feel like work to me. It feels, cathartic
so
and
like
uh,
you and I are very similar. So like if you want to come over, I have a motorcycle in the driveway that needs to become street legal. I gotta wire out some lights. But no, I get it because like I'm a car guy. Like love cars. So my thing is I haven't worked on my motorcycle, but working on the motorcycle, working on XYZ, like it's like you said, it's work, but like it is peaceful to me. Like
yeah,
it, making something better. Like, but it's finding that just that hour. And yes, I tell my wife all the time, and she gives me shit for it so many times. Hey, I'm gonna be real quick.
yeah,
Real
real
quick is
quick.
never, yeah, real quick is
Goody
never
goody
15
time is
minutes.
very different than actual time, and real quick in my mind is like, I don't know, I was gone for a day and a half. What happened?
Like, no, it was real quick. This is a 3-day job, and I did it in a day and a half.
Yeah.
But like
I'm sorry, both of our wives listening.
at this point, like even my kids make the joke to me, like, "Oh, I'm just going out to the garage real quick." Like, okay, like you're gonna at least be 45 minutes. I say 45 minutes, and that's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just you need that thing. Like that's you and I. We take shit apart, we put it back together, and we hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's something that obviously that's fun for me, right? I enjoy working with my hands.
Yeah, same.
And so, it's like I said, it's kind of cathartic and I can use that productively, right? Because a lot of the time, and this is something that personally, and we talked about this a little bit in the like me time episode that we had, but I'm really bad at prioritizing my own time and mental health. Uh, I will default to being a dad over being a person every single time until I absolutely fall apart. And Emily's like, "Hey, go get a beer with Derek because you need to reset." Like,
And
um,
again, not to cut you off because I'm so I don't want to say I'm like aligned with you, but I'm very similar to like I will hold that shit in. There's that bigger, stuff it in a jar until you need a bigger jar concept that you mentioned in the last episode. Um, and then April's like, "What's wrong? What's bothering you?" And it's like everything.
yeah, yeah, it's
Literally,
not.
literally everything. Um, how you want to go get a beer later since you mentioned it?
Hey,
I'm just kidding. Keep
and
going.
it's just one of those things that it really is important, right? Like, I know this is very much a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing, but it's genuinely like, candidly, I'm trying to be better about this. Prioritize yourself. Be selfish. It's okay. It's not wrong to
Yeah,
take time.
see,
The key
thank
is
you.
give your partner that same courtesy, right? Because Emily will, if I say like, "Hey, I'm really overwhelmed and I need to go grab a beer tonight," or can you watch Alana and I'm gonna go hit up whoever, Derek, and we're gonna grab a beer because I need a reset, or um, less problematically than I need a drink. We're gonna go play a game of baseball in the park or whatever. Like I need time to reset. Can you jump in? She'll absolutely drop everything to give me that. Um, just make sure that you're giving as much as you take. And when
Yes.
your partner needs to grab a beer with her friend or go do whatever, or just shut herself. There's an episode of Bluey. We reference the show constantly because
I
it's the
love
best show
it's
in
a
the
great
world.
show. Yes, it is.
There's an episode of Bluey where Chili just needs 20 minutes where nobody is bothering her. And it's one of my favorite episodes because that's so real as a parent. Like, I just
Yes.
need 20 minutes where nobody is
Because
bothering
she
me.
says that exactly. She's like,
Yeah.
"Mom, are you mad at me?" And she's like, "No, I just needed my own time." Like, yes,
I,
because I know that April needs that time sometimes. So when she's like, "Hey, I need a massage," I'm like, "Go, please do that. Like,
yeah.
go get that massage. Go get your nails done. Go." Because I know that she works from home all day with these two. I did that last week. I know we referenced it in last episode. I don't know how she fucking
It's a
does it.
task,
Like,
man.
yeah, it is. It really fucking is. I don't know how she does it week in and week out. Like, honey, I love you. Like, you deserve the fucking world.
Yeah.
So like, I always do feel guilty when I'm like, hey, goody, let's go grab a beer, let's go grab dinner, because she's been at home all day with these same fucking tyrants that demand everything.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Um,
Well, and
but
it's like I said, it's a balance, right? Because I cover you, you cover me. That's the way that
yeah,
Emily and I handle things, right? And you just need to make sure that you're not taking more than you give. Um, and that can look different, right? Like sometimes that looks like me creating space for Emily for a month without taking any space. And sometimes that looks like her sending me off to go camping for a week, and taking entire responsibility of the kids in the household, you know? And that's just it's a balance that you have to figure out with yourself and with your partner and frankly with your kids, especially I'm sure once you get older, right? Like I don't know if you have this with Lucas as much, but like, you know, if I go camping for a week, or probably not a week,
I
but
was gonna
if
say
I'm
a
going to be,
weekend.
yeah, let's say a weekend. If I take a long weekend, right, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be gone for 3 days. Alana's going to notice, and she's already getting to that point where she's like, "Oh, can I go with Dada? Like, where's he going?
Mhm.
I want to go with him." Um, and so that can create some road bumps in this, if you will, for you and your partner. That hey, you got to figure out what are you going to tell the kids, right? Like, what is that going to look like? Are you maybe going
Yeah.
to take like I could absolutely see a future where probably realistically, Alana's 2 years old now, probably 2 to 3 years down the road when she's 4 or 5 years old. I could see a future where Alana and I take a 3 day camping trip and Emily stays home and I don't
Emily
know,
would love
fucking
that.
watches
She'd be
Grey's
like, "Oh,
Anatomy and eats pasta. Like,
wait, wait, are you wait, Emily, you mean April?" Like,
yeah, no, but like, like, and that's an entirely different dynamic, right? Of like, hey, now it's not I'm going away because I need this cathartic thing that helps me feel better. It's I'm going away to get the time that I want, and I'm taking our kid. So you have fun. The house is yours. Don't kill the dogs. Like,
See, like I feel like if I was a camper, April would love that because my kids love being outside.
yeah.
Love being outside to the point that we have to say, no, you can't go outside. Different story. If I was like, babe, I'm taking the kids, we're going camping, she'd be like, what's wrong with you? And thank you. So she can watch her Grey's Anatomy, her Vampire Diaries. She doesn't eat pasta, but she'll eat whatever the fuck, snacks. I think she would give herself a cheat weekend if I took our whole circus of kids out of the fucking house.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, and I mean, that's what it really comes down to, right? And that's, we've kind of talked about it throughout this episode, but it's all about just figuring out that priority list, right? And sometimes that literally comes down to sitting down with your partner and writing out a goddamn priority list and saying, and what it's really going to come down to, I mean, for me, is my kid, my wife, they're really at the same level, but typically my
Yeah.
kid needs more help because she's 2 years old. Um, my kid, my wife, my job, because that takes care of everything.
Yes.
Uh, and then I'm gonna fall somewhere in this spectrum. And depending on the day, I might be really high priority where like Alana's alive, Emily's doing well, my job is secured, I need to take care of me. And then some days it's gonna be, boom, boom, boom. I'm doing good. I can take care of Emily, or I can take Alana, or I can do whatever. Um, but just having a real check-in and understanding where you're falling on that order uh is huge and can really impact your relationship and affect the way that you exist in the world.
Yeah, and it's because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, where do I fall on this spectrum? Like, what do I prioritize? And that's one thing I want our viewers, our listeners, whatever, however you're listening to us, like really be honest with yourself. Like, where are you putting yourself on the grand scheme of things? Are your video games, are your sports, like you and I, Goody, like we're not sports people, which I think is helpful to us. Like
Yeah, I mean it's one less priority to have, right?
it is, and I'm not shitting all over people who love sports. Like, definitely not. But like, where do the sports lie? Where do your interests lie versus where do your kids' interests lie? Where does your wife's interest lie? Really, really be honest with yourself and look at it. Like you said, write it down, because I mean, I'm not one to write things down ever in my entire life. Studying never fucking happened. Um, but like, sit down with your partner and put it on paper. Don't be a Derek, okay? Both you and your partner both write it down. Hey, this is like the Cowboys are my number one priority. All right, you might want to fucking lower that on your list. Okay, my kids, my wife, like you said, your kids and your wife should kind of do this every single time.
Yeah,
And then you
totally.
should be kind of down here without losing yourself.
Well, I was gonna say, and again, it comes back to you have to take your power, right? Like you have to empower yourself and be able to be a foundation for your wife and kid. It's very important.
Yes.
But if you're going to prioritize your wife and kid, then you need that solid foundation. So you got to figure that out. You've got to figure out where you fall, and what your point of no return is, if you will, for bringing yourself back up.
And me, because I'm not a sports person, so it's easy to say, like, don't turn on the game a couple weeks. Like, what are you gonna miss? There's highlights. On your way to work, listen to a podcast of the highlights of the game you missed.
Totally. So I feel like this falls into the same category as a lot of things where uh you're going to have likes that are significant for you, right? Like most typically speaking, the people who are super into sports are not going to be super into video games. There's definitely a cross section of people who like
Yeah,
everything, right?
agreed.
My hobbies include basically everything except professional sports, and even that I still try to catch as many hockey games and soccer games as I can, and the occasional baseball game. Like you can have eclectic tastes and it's totally okay. But the more that you add to your plate, right? The more eclectic your tastes are. If all you like is Marvel, right? Like you're super into Marvel, uh, you really just have like your wife and your kid and your Marvel comics, and that's easy to manage. The more hobbies you add, the more likes you add, that's when it gets complicated, right? Like Derek and I are both
Yeah.
fucking, I don't know, Renaissance men, if you will. Like I'm a jack of all trades and a master of like four, but like
As am I. As am I.
and like I'm a 95 percenter. I want to get really good at most things. The problem with that is all of those things take time. I have to play video games. I have to watch movies. I have to listen to music. I have to cook. I have to drink. I have to, there's a ton of different things that I like and enjoy. And all of those things are fighting for time in my priority list. And so if you can break that down and figure out, real talk, what is your number one priority? It's probably your kid. If it's
Uh,
not, probably should be.
your kid
What's your
and
number
or
two?
your wife. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to say your kid because like your wife should not be thrown to the wayside. And I'm guilty of
Yeah.
it sometimes also. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm the perfect husband either. Um like I said, sit there, write it down. Like, what do you actually want? Like, is your wife actually into the football, into soccer, into baseball? Like, I know, basketball is what the longest season there is. It goes on like
I would
51
have no
weeks
way
out
of
of the
knowing.
year. I don't know. Obviously, I'm uneducated.
I would have absolutely no way of knowing.
Yeah, like, like does your wife want to sit there and watch the fucking game and scroll TikTok all fucking day? Probably not. I bet you she wants to fucking learn to cook with you. She
Yeah.
wants
Well,
to
and that's
you to
something
teach
that's
something to
something
your
that falls into it
children.
as
Like,
well, right? Is hey, like kind of like you said. And I think your wife and your kid fall into a similar category because supporting one kind of supports the other a lot of the time, right? Like the ways that I
yeah,
support Emily help Alana, and the ways that I support Alana help Emily. Typically, there are obviously differences there,
yeah. I mean, I
but generally
understand.
speaking, that is the case. Um, but also, like, what is your partner's like? And I think that's why figuring out your priority list is so important because if you figure out your priority list and your partner figures out their priority list, you might figure out that like both of you are prioritizing the Dallas Cowboys for some reason, but
Um,
that's fine. That means that that can be higher on your list because both of you are interested in that. If like, and I'll use you for an example, right? Like April has no interest in video games, and you are really passionate about video games.
yeah.
And so you guys have to figure out what that balance is where you making time for video games is a sacrifice of her time because she is going to be giving up time so that you can game. Whereas, like, if she was super into gaming as well, then maybe what that looks like is you guys put the kids to bed and the two of you game together, you know? Like and I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying like
Oh no, that's a great suggestion. I love it.
depending
I'm gonna pitch the idea when I leave it.
yeah, but April has no interest in video gaming. And
No,
that's
she
that's the
doesn't.
thing is like this Fallout the Fallout TV show is a great example, right? Both of us are watching this with our wives because they were interested enough in something that we are both passionate about that we are creating time as couples to watch this show. Um, and there that can be anything from a TV show to a football game to camping to whatever hobby you have. If you and your wife have the same mutual interests, you guys can do that as a family or do that as a couple after the kids go to bed.
And I want to say like for anybody listening or watching or whatever, like sit down and list your priorities and then figure out what you think your significant other's priorities are. Like swap the roles because I would love to see what my wife thinks my priorities are, honestly. And
Yeah, well,
I
it's a
think
great suggestion. Honestly,
yeah, like, and I bet you my own needs would be way above everything else, but like in my own mind, I don't think so. We're not going to get into that because we're going to make this episode run way longer than it needs to be. But like those who are listening, um, sit down, have that uncomfortable talk. We have made mention of it in previous episodes. It's the communication. Have that talk because you know what are you gonna do? Strengthen your relationship? How fucking terrible is
yeah.
that?
Talk to your partner. Talk to your
Yeah.
wife. Listen to your
You're-
partner.
And
It's
we
the
we keep
biggest
saying
thing that
wife,
you
like
can do.
your significant other. Yeah, but yeah, like you're right. Like listen to that other person because you may be seeing it in a different light than they are. Maybe they hate the fact that you watch basketball every single night. And like, you're only a fan of this team. Why are you watching every single 50, 100 million teams in the fucking league? I don't know. I'm not a basketball fan. I'm not a sports fan. I
Yeah.
really don't know. Maybe they want you to turn the game off and go to the park with your children. Like, are you really going to miss out that much? No. But
Yeah.
that's my opinion. That is my own personal opinion. Hate me if you will for anybody actually listening to this podcast.
Totally. Like we really appreciate all of you. I mean, obviously, you know, you're watching this show, and that's prioritizing your time in another way. You know, you're taking time to listen to this podcast to hopefully learn something from the two of us and become a better dad and better partner and manage your time. God's only know, hopefully better than you were before.
Yeah, like you know, we just want to make happy relationships. Like that's the point of being a dad, is like a relationship with your kids, a relationship with your significant other. Like that's what we want. That we want to teach you something, we want you to teach us something. You know, that's what the comment section is for. That's what our email is for. Our social media is all out there. Fucking blow that shit up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And on that note, we've got our 25th episode this week. You know, it's a milestone for sure. We're halfway to quarter of a way to 100. Don't know how my brain
What
went half.
I was curious about that one.
Um, and so you know, Derek, we talked about a a way to identify our winning viewer. What do you want to take the run at here?
You know, we talked about something pre-episode, but actually what I want to do is, because I keep referencing this Fallout. My first Fallout tattoo, my only Fallout tattoo. Tell me what my Fallout 3 tattoo says.
I love it.
Hashtag Fallout, hashtag 25, episode 25, you know, whatever you have to do. Like, what is the main focus of Fallout 3 that made me want to get a
So
goddamn tattoo?
for our YouTube audience, because you'll be seeing this first, because our videos, just so everybody knows, all of our audience, we release new episodes every Friday on YouTube. That episode releases on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all of the major podcatching networks the following Monday. For our YouTube audience who is seeing this first, comment down below in YouTube and tell us what Derek's tattoo means with hashtag 25 and hashtag proud of you and hashtag Fallout in your comment. Let us know, and whoever the first person to correctly comment the meaning of Derek's tattoo, we'll send you $25.
I
We'll
will
be in
send you.
contact. We can Venmo you, whatever works best, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, thank you for spending 25, I mean, feasibly 25 hours of your life with us. Our episodes aren't quite an hour long, but you know,
They fluctuate.
they fluctuate. They're very fluctuate. Hey, tell us how long you want these episodes to be as well. We get mixed feedback. But you know, this is this podcast is a big part of you know, our week. I look forward to recording these episodes and
I do
talking to
too.
Derek and having fun for an hour, talking to all of you about what a wonderful adventure and what a awful reality and what a joyous fun time and what a horrible overwhelming challenge and everything in between that parenting is. You know, dad life is such a huge part of the person that I've become, and I love sharing it with you guys every week, and I know Derek feels the same. So
That's why I'm always smiling. Always, like my nickname when I was deployed in Qatar was Smiley, because I smile at fucking everything. Like I enjoy this. I love this. Like I we're gonna keep doing this. 52 weeks. That's what we're aiming for next. A whole
hey,
entire fucking year.
there you go. Like we said, comment down below, tell us what Derek's tattoo means, and you could win $25. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, for coming back and listening to us week in, week out as we talk through the realities of just what we're doing in life and figuring out what dad life means to us. Because I've never been more proud of anything than I am to be proud than I am proud to be a father. And we're so proud of you for making that choice as well and for figuring out what parenthood looks like for you. Our social media links are down below. Like this video, share it with your friends. Truly sharing this video and liking it and commenting it and subscribing, all of those things that those influencers tell you to do, they really do so much more than you can ever imagine. The biggest thing that liking and sharing this video does is it helps us spread the word to more dads and reach out to more people and build the community of awesome, cool dads who we're proud of. So thanks so much for coming back week after week, 25 weeks now, and we've got so much more to come. Until next time, I'm Andrew Goody,
And I'm Derek Mata.
and we are proud of you.